right, man. So apparently, Terrion and Arnold been, locking ish down, for the Detroit Lions early in camp. Also, I talk a little bit about Alim, McNeill, and Jack Campbell. So, a lot of the numbers, and if you watch foosball last year, I felt that Terrion, and I've been an advocate for him, especially with Mitchell. That's who I really wanted the Lions to draft. But Quinyon Mitchell, he was in a better situation. And Terrion played a lot of men. And I felt like he got a lot of calls, PI calls, that shouldn't have been PI calls. And that's my opinion on that. I feel like he got a lot of PI calls that shouldn't have been PI calls. And then he got a reputation for holding, for grabbing, for those type of things. But ultimately, I told y'all, a lot of that was malarkey. And it's kind of like when you get a reputation, especially with social media, that becomes who you are. And if you look at his numbers, especially when you dig into the deep analytics, he was a lockdown corner last year. McNeill, brother Meek Roberts got a lot of love for what he did versus Justin Jefferson, but also Terrion Arnold should have got a lot of love for how he defended last year versus Terry McLaurin. He did an amazing job versus Terry McLaurin in the Washington Commanders last year. He was all year he was good, to be in my opinion. I think a lot of those PI calls that he got was hogwash and malarkey. And I know a lot of people, like I was explaining because I was doing some volunteer work this week, and some of the kids play football, and we was talking about the 5-yard, what they call the chuck or press rule. And a lot of the kids didn't know that at one point in time, in the Jerry Rice era, for a lot of those, some of those years, and before that, you can jam a receiver past 5 yards. You can really get physical with a receiver past 5 yards. They changed it, I forget what year they changed that. But yeah, you used to get physical with a receiver past 5 yards. So that's no more, obviously, for many years now. But I keep stepping in wet grass. I'm so tired of this shit. I didn't cuss. But so yeah, early in camp, he been locking around. He locked down St. Brown. He locked down Amon Ra. And also they're making a clip about in one-on-ones. And he doing this in one-on-ones, which is impressive. One-on-ones is meant for the offense to win, because there's no help. But then you talk about the clip with Kirby Joseph and Khalif Raymond. A receiver should be the safety. A safety is not a man-to-man guy. They talking about when J-Mo beat Brian Branch. J-Mo should be Brian Branch. They're safeties. They're safeties. That's not their primary job to cover man-to-man. And if they were great at man-to-man coverage and they had the speed to do so, they would be corners. Simple as that. But yeah, he's becoming elite. I look for him, if he can stay healthy this year, to be an elite corner this year, because for the second half of last year, he real life was an elite corner. But they gave him this jacket for pass interference. And in reality, that's how you play good old football. But in the NFL, where they want offense to be king to sell tickets, that became a problem. So he had to make the adjustment. He pretty much really did. And my Kevin Gage he really did. And I just think people didn't really give him the credit that he deserved. I just really didn't think he got the credit that he deserved. So, but keep it moving. Alim McNeill, Brad Holmes said they expect him back sooner than later. I think we pretty much got the memo when he was on the PUP list, but eligible to return in 4 games, and then we end up getting the PUP list with Anzarike not eligible to return for 4 games, and then eventually the season. So I pretty much thought, because he was a heavier guy, you probably won't see him back till like December, November, December. So I thought that would be an issue, but apparently he's progressing well, he's healing well, and he may be back in September or October. So, you know, if that's the case for him, good for the Lions. I mean, you lose Enrique, and no. Are you okay? Come on. Come on. Good boy. All right. But yeah, you lose Enrique, but you may get him back, and then got the Tyleik Williams guy, and you know, so yeah. So it was good to see him back. And then you hear about Jack Campbell. Pretty much, I mean, I don't think a lot of people understand the writing on the wall with Jack Campbell and with Alex Anzalone. Anzalone is the replacement. I mean, he's getting replaced. When they drafted Jack Campbell, Anzalone was on the clock. You're not about to pay, you know, top dollar, you know, to Anzalone when you went out there and you drafted Jack Campbell. So that just wasn't gonna happen. That was the common sense thing about it. So Anzalone had to know that he was getting phased out. So that, to me, that determined to be pretty much common sense, especially if it wasn't common to him when Campbell came in. And usually about year 2 or 3, you know, linebackers pretty much started to, how you doing? Pretty good. You know, linebackers pretty much started to get, inside linebackers pretty much started to get their feet wet and become elite and be who they gonna be. You know, that's one of those positions that take about 2 or 3 years to really cement themselves. So Anzalone should have seen that coming, especially when they paid. The icing on the cake is when they paid Derrick Barnes. When they paid Derrick Barnes, that was it. That was it. So when they paid Derrick Barnes all that money, Anzalone should have knew. And he said he's not going to hold out. I didn't talk about that in another video. He said that he's not going to hold out and that he's going to play games. But his time in Detroit, it really became cemented to be done when they paid Derrick Barnes. That's when it was a wrap. You know, what did G-Dub say? Like Saran, it's a wrap. That's when it became a Rizzy. So it is what it is. Check out Detroit Lions Talk playlist. Hit the link tree. You can find me on X, Instagram, Spotify, Anchor, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. Appreciate the love and support. Peace.